In a galaxy where many worlds were linked by trade, technology, and old rivalries, humans were still seen as newcomers. Earth's people had arrived only a few generations ago, surprising everyone with their fast learning and strange customs. Most species thought humans were too bold and unpredictable. A few saw promise, but many, especially the old, powerful races, watched them with wary eyes. The Vraxans were one of the oldest. Their skin was rough and blue, with heavy armor that grew naturally over their bodies. They had thick, deep voices, and they believed strongly in rules, tradition, and honor. The Vraxans had never lost a public challenge or a formal duel. Their ships were big and heavy, built for war, and their leaders were proud. At the center of the Vraxan Empire, High Commander Zir called a council of his best warriors. "Humans have forgotten their place," he rumbled. "They win too many trade deals. They speak too freely at the Galactic Council. It is time they remember who rules these stars." The plan was simple. The Vraxans would challenge the humans to a public contest, a fleet battle under strict rules, watched by the whole galaxy. It would show everyone that tradition and power were still supreme and that humans could be humbled. The message was sent, and news of the challenge spread quickly. Across worlds and space stations, everyone stopped to watch. The humans received the challenge with quiet surprise. On Earth's main fleet base, Captain Laura Brooks watched the announcement with her officers. Laura was young for her rank, with calm brown eyes and a patient way of listening. She believed that humans always found a way, even when the odds were bad. She stood up in the control room and addressed her team. "They want to see us lose," Laura said. "But we won't let them write the story. We'll do things our way. We'll fight together, and we'll fight smart." There were doubts. Some of her crew worried. Everyone knew the Vraxans' reputation, but there was also a sense of quiet excitement. Humans liked a challenge. They had faced worse odds on Earth itself, storms, wars, and dangers their ancestors never dreamed of. This was just another test. Preparations began. The human fleet was not as large or as strong as the Vraxan ships. Instead, it was fast, light, and clever. Engineers upgraded engines and built decoys. Pilots practiced in asteroid fields, weaving between rocks and using gravity to slingshot around obstacles. Laura met with her officers every day, encouraging them to think creatively. Meanwhile, the galaxy waited. On space stations and distant worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes placed bets. Some hoped for a Vraxan victory and a return to the old ways. Others were secretly rooting for the humans, remembering stories of their stubbornness and impossible wins. The day of the challenge arrived. The chosen system was far from any inhabited world, a quiet place with a dying sun and a belt of spinning asteroids, perfect for a contest with no risk to civilians. The Galactic Council sent neutral ships to watch and record every move. Millions watched the broadcast. The Vraxan fleet arrived first. 10 huge warships painted in blue and gold lined up in perfect formation. They carried heavy plasma cannons and thick shields. The sight alone made many watchers think the outcome was certain. Then the human ships arrived. Smaller, faster, and fewer in number. They did not form a straight line. Instead, they spread out, hiding among the asteroids, using the rocks for cover. Captain Laura Brooks gave her first orders with a steady voice. "Stick to the plan. Move as one. Remember, we're not here to win a show of strength. We're here to win a fight." The first move came from the Vraxans. Their leader, High Commander Zir, sent a formal message. His voice boomed through every screen in the system. "Humans, this contest is for honor. Surrender now, and we will let you go in peace," Laura answered, calmly. "Thank you, High Commander, but we'll take our chances." The Vraxans opened fire. Plasma blasts lit up the darkness, turning asteroids to dust and sending waves of energy across the field. The human ships scattered, slipping through gaps, dodging blasts, and weaving in and out of cover. The Vraxans fired again, but their heavy guns were slow to aim, and the smaller human ships kept moving. It soon became clear that the humans were not playing by the usual rules. Instead of fighting head-on, they used the field itself. A group of human fighters led 2 Vraxan ships into a dense cloud of rocks, where bigger ships could not follow easily. Another team set off decoy beacons, tricking Vraxan sensors and drawing fire away from real targets. From her command seat, Laura watched the battle like a chess game. She trusted her officers, who sent quick updates and ideas over the comms. Her engineer, Lieutenant Nash, reported, "Shield holding. We can use the gravity from that large asteroid to boost speed, requesting permission to try." "Approved," Laura replied. "Keep your eyes open. Don't take risks you can't recover from." The galaxy watched in amazement as human tactics unfolded. The Vraxans became frustrated as their shots missed, and their formations broke up while trying to chase smaller targets. Some observers started to whisper. Maybe the humans had a chance after all. On the Vraxan flagship, Commander Zier felt the pressure mounting. "They are running," he said to his second. "Soon they will tire. Then we finish them." But the humans were not running. They were testing the enemy, mapping out weak spots, and waiting for the right moment. Each time a Vraxan ship strayed. Too far from the main group, a pair of human corvettes would dart in, fire at engines or shields, and vanish before anyone could respond. Inside the ships, human crews worked hard and fast. Mechanics fixed damage on the go, taping wires and patching hulls. Pilots called out warnings and directions, helping each other avoid danger. Nobody gave up, even when systems failed or alarms blared. The battle went on for hours. At times, the sky seemed full of light and fire. Laura never raised her voice, but everyone heard her calm instructions. "Don't fight their fight. Make them fight ours. Think 2 steps ahead." One young pilot, Maya, found herself trapped between 2 Vraxan ships. She radioed for help. "I can't break through. Too much fire." Her wingman, Ryan, answered quickly. "Hold tight. Cutting across now." With perfect timing, Ryan's ship zipped through the enemy's blind spot, drawing fire away and giving Maya an opening. Together, they escaped, both ships trailing smoke, but still flying. As the first day of the contest ended, neither side had won. The Vraxans held the field, but they had taken damage and lost some of their pride. The humans had fewer losses than expected and had gained the respect of many watching. Even some of the Galactic Council observers began to smile. In her quiet cabin, Captain Laura Brooks reviewed the battle logs. She felt tired but hopeful. Her team had done well, and the crew's spirits were high. Outside, the stars turned slowly, and the humans prepared for another day, a day when they might just turn the tide. The message was clear to everyone now. Humans were not to be underestimated. The Vraxans had made their challenge, but the fight was only just beginning. The cold silence of space felt heavier after the first day's fight. Captain Laura Brooks woke early, her mind replaying every move, every risk. She looked out of her small window at the distant sun and wondered what the Vraxans were planning next. Her crew was tired, but nobody wanted to give up. Even those who had doubted their chances felt something new, a spark of hope and a stubborn pride in being human. In the human fleet's main control room, officers shared quiet jokes and checked equipment. Every ship ran on low supplies and high spirit. Lieutenant Nash, the engineer, wiped sweat from his brow as he patched another coolant leak. "Just keep us running," he muttered, "and we'll show them what humans can do." Across the asteroid field, the Vraxan ships repaired damage too. Commander Zier stood at the center of his flagship, frustration showing in his deep-set eyes. Never before had his fleet been slowed by such small ships. "These humans," he growled to his second-in-command, "fight like insects. They run. They hide, they sting," his second replied. But they never stop, Commander. We must end this quickly. The Galactic Council observers sent out updates every hour. People across the galaxy watched the live feeds. Commentators argued about who had the advantage. Some admired the Vraxen's strength, but others began to speak with respect about the humans' courage and cleverness. As the sun rose over the wreckage of Day 1, Captain Brooks called her officers for a quick meeting. "They think we are only running," she said, pointing at a glowing map. "Today we show them we can fight back. Not everywhere, just where it hurts the most." She tapped a red symbol on the map, marking the biggest Vraxen supply ship. "If we take this out, their big ships won't have enough power or ammo. They'll be forced to pull back or fight weaker." Her team nodded. Pilots checked their small, fast ships. Weapons crews loaded every torpedo and energy cell they had left. Laura's voice came through every speaker. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. Everyone is watching. Let's show them the best of humanity." The plan was risky. 3 human fighters, led by Maya, would sneak through the asteroid belt and target the Vraxen supply ship. Meanwhile, the rest of the fleet would act as a distraction, drawing enemy fire and keeping the big warships busy. It depended on timing, luck, and the courage of everyone involved. The battle began again as the 2 fleets moved into the field. Plasma blasts and laser beams flashed between rocks. Captain Brooks's ship danced through danger, giving orders. "Keep moving! Split and regroup at Point Echo. Watch for enemy traps!" The Vraxens pushed forward, firing with even more anger than before. Their big ships blasted rocks into dust, trying to flush out human fighters. But the humans did not break. Every time the Vraxens thought they had trapped a ship, it slipped away and fired back from behind cover. Maya and her 2 wingmates, Elliot and Sam, flew close to the largest asteroid, using its shadow to hide. "Almost there," Maya whispered, her hands tight on the controls. The supply ship floated ahead, guarded by 2 big Vraxen destroyers. Elliot's voice came over the radio. "I'll draw their fire. Sam, get ready to boost." With a burst of engines, Elliot's ship shot forward, weaving and firing harmless flares. The destroyers turned and opened fire, missing their true targets. Maya and Sam pushed ahead, moving low and fast, their engines quiet. At the last second, the 2 human fighters launched their torpedoes. Bright blue trails shot across space and struck the supply ship's engines. The explosion was so bright that even the observers on council ships blinked in surprise. The Vraxen destroyers spun around, shocked. Maya's ship took a glancing hit, and alarms rang, but she kept her ship steady and pulled away. On the Vraxen flagship, Commander Zier shouted, "Protect the supply lines! Do not let them escape!" But it was too late. The humans had already gone, using the chaos to vanish back into the rocks. The loss of their main supply ship hit the Vraxens hard. Their big cannons started to slow, and their shields flickered. Fuel became precious. Zier pounded the command table, realizing his fleet was now fighting on human terms, not his own. Meanwhile, Captain Brooks saw her chance. "All ships, focus fire on the lead Vraxen cruiser. Aim for the engines." The humans worked as a team, targeting weak spots and sending waves of small attacks from different angles. The Vraxen cruiser tried to turn, but without fresh power, it was slower than before. A dozen human shots hit it once, and the big ship drifted, its lights fading. Across the galaxy, watchers cheered. For the first time, it looked like humans might win not just with tricks, but with real skill. The Galactic Council leaders sent each other nervous messages. Maybe the future was changing right before their eyes. But the fight was not over. Vraxen pride burned brighter than ever. Commander Zier ordered his ships to close ranks, forming a tight wall of metal and shields. "No more chasing," he declared. "We move as one. Force them out. Crush them with strength." The humans saw the change in tactics. They were running, out of time and supplies. Brooks gathered her crew and spoke softly. "They are coming for us. We need one last move, a move they won't expect. Her officers brought ideas, some risky and wild. In the end, Laura chose a plan that would need every bit of courage her people had. "We'll use the asteroid field itself," she said. "If we can lure them into the densest part, their big ships might get stuck or crash. We know these rocks better than they do now." As the Vraxan wall advanced, human ships darted in and out, firing and then falling back, always leading the enemy deeper into danger. The biggest asteroid spun slowly, hiding sudden gaps and deadly debris. Inside the field, it was chaos. Vraxan ships bumped and scraped, their heavy armor no help against sharp rocks. One cruiser lost an engine to a hidden boulder. Another got wedged between two spinning stones, its guns unable to move. Captain Brooks saw her moment. "Now! Hit them from both sides!" The human fleet split, attacking from above and below, confusing the Vraxans and forcing them to fire, blindly. Pilots like Maya dodged through narrow gaps, targeting engine pods and shield generators. Each successful hit gave the humans more room to move, more hope. As the sun set on the second day, the asteroid field was filled with the remains of damaged ships, some human, but more Vraxan. Inside their flagship, Zir felt the weight of failure. "They are not just clever," he admitted to himself. "They are brave, too." When the fighting finally stopped, both fleets were battered and tired. The humans had lost 2 ships, but the Vraxans had lost more, both in metal and in pride. On her bridge, Laura Brooks thanked her crew for their courage. "You all did something amazing," she said quietly. Today, the galaxy saw what humans can do when we stand together. Word spread fast. Even some of the old races began to talk with respect about the newcomers from Earth. For now, the humans were still outnumbered, still outgunned, but they had shown the one thing no enemy could measure, the human heart. And as the stars turned slowly, everyone knew the real test was still to come. The Vraxans were wounded, but not broken. They would not give up. Neither would the humans. In the quiet darkness, both sides prepared for what would happen next. The third day in the lonely star system began with a quiet tension that settled over both fleets. The humans and the Vraxans each counted their losses and repaired their ships, but everyone understood the real battle was not only for victory, it was for pride and respect. In every corner of the galaxy, people watched the broadcasts, holding their breath to see what would happen next. On the human command ship, Captain Laura Brooks stood with her officers, listening as they reported in. Some of the engineers had worked all night to fix power lines and patch holes in the hull. Mechanics moved quickly, replacing burned wires and broken panels, while nurses made sure every wounded crew member got care. Even with little rest, the human crew smiled and shared stories of close calls from the last battle. Laura thanked each team member personally, her voice steady and her eyes bright. She knew her crew was tired, but she also saw their courage growing, stronger. "Today, we have to be smarter than ever," Laura said, "because the Vraxans will come at us with everything they have left. They will not let themselves lose so easily." In the Vraxan flagship, High Commander Zir was furious. The loss of their supply ship and 2 heavy cruisers felt like a deep wound to his pride. His warriors stood silent as he paced, his armored steps echoing across the bridge. "These humans fight like no one we have faced before," Zir said, clenching his fists. "We must show them what it means to face Vraxan power." His second-in-command, Commander Track, offered a plan. "If we cannot crush them in open space, we should try to board their ships. Our warriors are trained for hand-to-hand combat. Let us show the galaxy that Vraxan's strength is more than just big guns." Zir agreed. He sent a coded message to his fleet, and soon several smaller, fast Vraxan boarding ships prepared to launch. Their goal was simple: get close, attach to a human ship, and storm the inside. Meanwhile, Laura met with her officers to prepare for the new threat. Lieutenant Nash, the engineer, was worried. Our hulls can't stop a Vraxen boarding team for long, he said, but maybe we can slow them down with some surprises. He and the crew quickly rigged hatches with gas canisters, set up barriers in the corridors, and made sure every human on board knew how to defend themselves. Weapons were handed out, but Laura reminded everyone, if you have to fight, fight smart. Teamwork is our best weapon. Soon, the warning alarms echoed across the human fleet. "Vraxen boarding ships incoming!" shouted Maya from her pilot seat. Outside, the enemy vessels raced forward, dodging fire from human cannons and attaching to 3 ships with heavy magnetic clamps. The first battle inside a human ship was fierce and fast. The Vraxens burst through the outer airlock, expecting an easy win. Instead, they found themselves coughing and confused as thick smoke filled the hallway. Behind the smoke, human crew members used simple tricks, noise, sudden flashes of light, and clever traps to slow the enemy down. Maya was caught on the same ship as one of the boarding parties. She and a group of engineers hid behind stacked crates, holding improvised shields. When the Vraxens advanced, Maya tossed a flash grenade, blinding them for a moment, then called out, "Now!" Her team rushed forward, pushing the attackers back, step by step. Every corridor became a test of courage and teamwork. The humans did not try to overpower their enemies. Instead, they outsmarted them, sealing doors behind the Vraxens and guiding them in circles through the ship. On the bridge, Laura listened as reports came in. Deck 3 under control. Deck 5 still fighting but holding. She gripped the edge of her table. Even as commander, she felt worry for her people. At last, the humans managed to push the last of the Vraxen boarders back into their ship. With a quick command, Maya's team closed the inner airlock and released the clamps, sending the enemy ship spinning away. Cheers erupted on every deck. Other human ships faced the same battles. Some suffered damage and a few were nearly lost. But everywhere, human crews showed the same spirit. They defended not just with weapons, but with clever ideas, teamwork, and quick thinking. Out in space, the rest of the human fleet took advantage of the chaos. While the Vraxens focused on boarding, human pilots like Ryan and Sam darted in and out, targeting engines and communication arrays. They launched decoy drones to confuse enemy sensors and dropped chaff clouds to hide their movements. Commander Zier watched the battle from his flag bridge and realized the humans were not like any foe he had ever faced. He had believed strength was everything, but now he saw how dangerous creativity could be. "The humans fight with their hearts and minds," he said quietly to Track. "We must respect them, or we will lose more than this battle." As the fight continued, human engineers worked tirelessly to repair damage and keep the ships moving. Every hand helped. No one stood idle. Medics ran from deck to deck, treating burns and injuries, while mechanics rebuilt power lines with whatever spare parts they could find. Even young ensigns took turns standing watch, determined to do their part. By midday, the balance of the battle had shifted. The Vraxens, who once thought victory was certain, now felt the sting of frustration. Their biggest ships were damaged, some of their best warriors injured or trapped. Their commanders argued about whether to continue fighting or retreat and rethink their strategy. On the human flagship, Laura called a short rest for her crew. "You have all done more than I could ask," she said, her voice warm with gratitude. "But we are not finished yet. We need every idea, every bit of strength to get through this day." As her crew rested and ate quick meals, Laura studied the star map, looking for any advantage. She saw a group of small asteroids drifting near the edge of the field, just big enough to hide a ship, but small enough to move if pushed. An idea began to form. When the fighting started again, Laura sent a message to her best pilots. "Maya, Ryan, Sam, I want you to tow those small asteroids and release them near the Vraxen command ship. Let's see if we can block their line of sight and break their formation." The pilots did as ordered, attaching tow cables and guiding the rocks through the field. As the next clash began, The humans released the asteroids at just the right moment. The Vraxan flagship was forced to swerve and lost contact with half its fleet. Seeing their enemy in disarray, Laura signaled the attack. All ships, concentrate. Fire on the ships cut off from the flagship. Move now! The humans pressed their advantage, striking quickly and pulling back before the Vraxans could regroup. Human ships zipped in and out, firing and then vanishing, never staying in one place long enough to be cornered. By the end of the day, 2 more Vraxan ships were disabled, floating silently among the spinning rocks. The human fleet was battered but still together. They had used every trick, every ounce of courage, and every lesson learned from Earth's long, difficult history. Across the galaxy, people talked about the humans with new respect. Even some Vraxans began to wonder if they could learn something from these strange newcomers. As darkness returned and both fleets drifted in uneasy silence, Captain Laura Brooks sat quietly in her cabin. She thought about her crew, about the long fight ahead, and about what it meant to stand against giants and never give up. She smiled softly, knowing that the next day would bring even greater tests. But tonight, her people had earned something. More valuable than victory, they had earned the respect of the stars. The 4th day in the Silent Star System felt different. The galaxy's eyes were still watching, but now, many hoped to see what the humans would do next. On every space station, news feeds replayed scenes of human bravery, pilots flying through impossible gaps, crews working together to save each other, and leaders making bold choices in the middle of chaos. Respect for humans was spreading. Captain Laura Brooks woke early, looking out at the darkness scattered with drifting metal and broken rocks. She knew the Vraxans would not give up. Their pride would not allow it. But she also saw something new in her own crew, a quiet belief that maybe, just maybe, they could win. The human ships moved carefully, staying hidden in the asteroid field. Engineers worked fast, patching hulls, fixing engines, and helping the wounded. Laura walked the main corridor of her ship, talking with crew members. Some were tired, others bandaged, but everyone was ready for another day. She thanked them one by one. "We do this together. No one is left behind," she said, giving a gentle smile to each person. Meanwhile, on the Vraxan flagship, High Commander Zier sat alone in his war room, studying reports and maps. His ships were damaged, his best warriors tired. Still, his pride burned. "We cannot lose to humans," he whispered to himself. "The galaxy will never respect us again." Commander Track joined him, voice low and careful. "We have lost too many ships, High Commander. Our warriors are brave, but the humans fight in ways we do not understand. Perhaps we should call for peace." Zier's eyes flashed with anger. "No, not yet. I will not let Vraxan honor be stained. Prepare every ship for a final assault. If we break the human flagship, the rest will fall." The command went out. Every Vraxan ship, no matter how damaged, was to focus on the human flagship. Crews pushed their engines beyond safety, patched their shields with spare metal, and readied every weapon for one last attack. Back on the human side, Laura met with her officers. "They will come for us with everything they have," she said. "They will try to end this fast, but we are not going to let them decide how this ends. We are going to make them see us, truly see us." Her plan was simple, but risky. Human ships would use the asteroids for cover, drawing the Vraxans in, closer and closer, forcing them to split up to avoid crashes. At the last moment, the humans would attack from every direction at once, targeting the engines of the largest Vraxan ships. Lieutenant Nash worked quickly with his team, planting small charges on nearby asteroids. "If we time this right," he explained, "we can send rocks flying right through the Vraxan formation. It won't destroy them, but it will cause confusion." Pilots like Maya and Ryan checked their ships, sharing a nervous laugh. "Ready for another dance?" Maya joked, tightening her gloves. "Always," Ryan answered, though his hands trembled just a little. The Vraxan assault began with a roar. Massive blue ships pushed through the asteroid field, guns blazing, ignoring the smaller rocks that scraped their hulls. They fired everything they had at the human flagship, filling space with fire and light. Laura kept her voice calm as alarms blared on the bridge. "Hold your positions. Trust your shields. Pilots, wait for my signal." The first wave of Vraxan fire shook the flagship, sparks raining from control panels. Engineers rushed to seal breaches. Medic teams pulled wounded crew from smoke-filled halls. Laura never left her chair, her eyes steady on the battle map. As the Vraxans drew closer, Nash sent a quiet signal. The charges went off, sending 3 huge asteroids spinning into the Vraxan formation. The enemy ships turned wildly, some colliding, others forced to break ranks. "Now!" Laura shouted. Human ships leapt from hiding, engines burning bright. Maya's squad dove through the confusion, weaving between rocks and enemy fire. They aimed for the biggest Vraxan ships, firing at engines and weapon pods. One Vraxan cruiser turned to block them, its guns spinning up, but Ryan slipped underneath, firing 2 torpedoes into its engine bay. The cruiser shuddered and lost power, drifting into an asteroid. More human ships poured in from above and below, hitting their targets and then disappearing into the debris. On the Vraxan flagship, Zier's anger turned to desperation. "Regroup," he commanded, but his fleet was already scattered. Fires burned on several decks, and his comms were filled with calls for help. Commander Track urged, "High Commander, we must pull back or risk losing everything." Zier hesitated, pride fighting with reason. Finally, he nodded. "Signal surrender. We cannot lose more." A message flashed across the battlefield. The Vraxans called for a ceasefire. On the human bridge, the sound of relief was mixed with disbelief. Some cheered, others wept quietly, feeling the weight of survival after days of fear. Laura stood, voice soft but clear. "We will treat their wounded and accept their surrender with respect. This is how humans win, not by crushing our enemies, but by showing the best of ourselves." The galaxy watched as human crews helped injured Vraxans out of broken ships, sharing water, food, and medical care. Stories of kindness spread just as quickly as stories of bravery. Council ships landed to record the moment. Even old enemies of humanity began to see Earth's people in a new light. High Commander Zier stood before Laura on the wrecked surface of an asteroid. His armor was scorched, his pride broken, but his eyes showed a glimmer of respect. "You fought with honor and cleverness," he said. "The Vraxans misjudged you." Laura nodded, meeting his gaze. "We never wanted to shame you. We only wanted to survive and to prove that everyone deserves respect, no matter where they come from." The 2 leaders shook hands. Across the field, the last fires faded and the stars seemed a little brighter. For the first time in generations, the Vraxans agreed to peace without being forced by fear. Their pride was hurt, but their understanding grew. They saw that strength was not only in weapons, but also in spirit and in the courage to do what was right. As the human fleet repaired their ships and shared quiet meals, Laura walked among her people, thanking each one for their role. "Today you made history," she said, "not just for humans, but for everyone who watches the stars and dreams of a better way." News of the battle's end traveled fast. On planets, in city domes, and deep space stations, children and elders watched the feeds and wondered if maybe, just maybe, the galaxy was changing for the better. But Laura knew it would take more than one victory to earn true peace. There would always be another challenge, another test. She watched the stars, her heart full of hope. For now, the galaxy celebrated, not only the end of a battle, but the beginning of new respect. Humans had come as underdogs, but they had shown the universe something unforgettable, that courage, kindness, and working together could shape the future. After the surrender, the lonely star system grew quiet again. Broken ships floated among the asteroids, and rescue shuttles traveled back and forth, helping both human and Vraxan survivors. For the first time in days, the sounds of battle faded, replaced by the gentle hum of repair tools and the soft voices of people working side by side. The humans wasted no time in helping the wounded. Captain Laura Brooks walked among both her own crew and the captured Vraxans, offering water, food, and gentle words. The Vraxans, once so proud and unyielding, looked at their human rescuers with a mix of surprise and wonder. Even the youngest human engineers stopped to help, wrapping bandages around tough blue arms and sharing smiles with former enemies. High Commander Zier sat quietly in the human flagship's medical bay. His armor was scratched and dented, his pride deeply wounded. But as he watched human doctors treat his injured soldiers without anger or revenge, he felt something he never expected: respect for his rivals. Laura came to see him, carrying a cup of water. She handed it to him without a word. Zier nodded, looking at her with tired eyes. "You could have shamed us," he said softly. "You could have paraded your victory." Laura shook her head. "We did not come for pride. We came because we had no choice. We only wanted to show that we could stand with the strongest races of the galaxy." For the next 2 days, human and Vraxan crews worked together to repair ships and rescue those still trapped in wreckage. Barriers between them slowly fell away. Humans taught Vraxans simple tricks for sealing hulls and rerouting power, while Vraxans showed humans how to use natural armor plating for extra protection. Some laughed together, sharing stories about home. For many, it was the first time they saw each other not as enemies, but as people. The Galactic Council's observers recorded everything, sending daily updates across every planet and station. The story of the human-Vraxan battle became more than just a tale of war. It became a lesson in understanding and change. As repairs neared completion, a great meeting was called on a council ship orbiting the battered system. Leaders from other species arrived, each wanting to see with their own eyes the people who had changed the outcome of an ancient tradition. Captain Laura Brooks stood with her officers, faces scrubbed and uniforms patched, but standing tall. High Commander Zier stood beside her, his own armor cleaned but still showing the marks of battle. The council hall buzzed with quiet voices. Everyone wanted to hear what would happen next. The council speaker, a thin being with silver skin and wise eyes, stepped forward. "The galaxy has watched you," the speaker said. "We have seen your courage, your cleverness, and your kindness. Even in victory, humans have proven themselves worthy not only as fighters, but as friends and allies." There was a pause as the room filled with applause, soft at first, then growing louder as more species joined in. Even the Vraxans' old rivals clapped, their heavy hands together, some smiling, some shaking their heads in wonder. High Commander Zier, once proud and stubborn, stepped forward. His deep voice carried through the hall. "The Vraxans challenged the humans, thinking only of victory and pride. We have learned something far greater, that respect must be earned, and that even the strongest can be surprised by those they underestimate. On behalf of my people, I accept peace with honor." Laura nodded, accepting his words. "And on behalf of humanity, I offer friendship. We hope the galaxy will judge us by our actions, not our history or our size." After the meeting, the real changes began. Humans and Vraxans signed a new peace treaty, agreeing to help protect each other's ships and trade together. The Galactic Council set up a new alliance for defending the weak, solving problems, and sharing knowledge. People from all over came to join the rebuilding effort in the star system where the battle had taken place. Slowly, things changed back on Earth as well. News of the victory and the peace spread quickly. Children in classrooms watched the broadcasts and asked their teachers about the Vraxans. Human engineers received messages from far-off worlds asking about their tricks and inventions. New friendships grew where only suspicion had been before. In the weeks that followed, both fleets prepared to leave the battlefield. Humans and Vraxans shared one last meal together in the common hall of the council ship. There was laughter, quiet talk, and even a few tears. Maya, the young pilot who had led the raid on the Vraxan supply ship, sat across from one of the blue-skinned warriors she had once fought. They traded stories about flying and surviving tight battles. Ryan and Sam, her friends, promised to visit the Vraxan homeworld someday. When it was time to go, Captain Laura Brooks called her crew together on the flagship's bridge. "You have done something few thought possible," she said. "Not only did you fight bravely, but you showed the galaxy that kindness and courage can walk side by side. You gave the Vraxans reason to respect us, and you gave all of us reason to believe in peace." The humans set a course for home, engines humming quietly. The journey back was slow, but the mood was joyful. Every crew member knew they had made history. Laura sat by the window watching the stars drift past. She thought about the long days of fear and struggle and about the friends made in the unlikeliest of places. Across the galaxy, things began to change. The story of the humans and the Vraxans was retold in every language. How one proud race dared to challenge the newcomers, and how, instead of hate or revenge, they found respect and even hope. More species reached out to Earth, curious to learn about human ways, human stories, and human hearts. Some old enemies remained cautious, but even they could not ignore the truth. Humans had shown that the strongest force was not always firepower or tradition, but the will to survive, to help others, and to make peace when possible. High Commander Zier returned to his people a changed leader. He started new programs for training young Vraxans, not just in battle, but in negotiation and teamwork. He told the story of the human victory to every new recruit, ending each time with the words, "Never judge a species by its size or by what you hear. Watch what they do when the moment comes." Laura continued to serve with honor, leading her crews into new missions and teaching the next generation of explorers. Her name became a symbol of hope and bravery, not just on Earth, but on worlds far away. And somewhere among the quiet stars, the memory of that battle remained. A reminder to all that the galaxy is wide, and that sometimes those who seem weakest can teach the most important lessons of all. In the end, it was not only about ships, battles, or even victory. It was about what it meant to be human, and how a single act of respect could change the course of history.